It's time for ACC Central, presented by Just Means Less.
I drive into right. It's enough. It's back. And it's gone for the cycle. It's a walk-off grand slam. Florida State wins it.
Hosted by Monty Taylor.
In the air, center field. Moore is under it. And on to Omaha for the Cardinals.
Micah Butel.
Fly ball driven into left field. Smith, does he do it? He does! A walk-off homer by Ken Smith.
And Nick Dioli.
Here comes Micah. He is safe. And Boston College wins.
Fastball off the plate for 2 balls, 2 strikes. Monty just got landed on.
There are 2 pigeons roosting right above me, and my can of Pepsi
Smacked into right field and a
Welcome back to another season of ACC Central. I'm Monty Taylor. Joining me is my cohorts, Nick Dioli, Micah Butel. Gentlemen, we are 19 days away, and we are previewing Boston College today. Boys, you've had a busy football season. How's it feel to start talking baseball? Nick?
Yeah, it's a little refreshing. The football season, obviously, for Micah and I has gone a little bit longer with Miami keeping going and going the playoff. So that's kind of new to us. Like usually we wait a little bit longer to start we start baseball, but football's already over. So it's kind of refreshing a little bit. But I'm excited to dive back in. I can't believe we are this close. It feels like yesterday all 3 of us were in Omaha. So I'm pumped.
That's right. Micah, how are you doing, buddy?
Good, Monty. Happy to be back. It's, I live in Texas, right? So, the weather, it feels like spring. So I'm ready for it to be here. Kind of feels like it's opening day should be today, the way the temperature is outside. So I'm definitely excited to get rocking and rolling. It's going to be a fun baseball season, both in the ACC, but also just in my Lamar adventures as well. So I'm definitely excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just dive right into Boston College. They are our first team that we're previewing. Obviously, we are doing our team takeover, so we're covering every team over the next 16 days, starting here with Boston College. Todd Interdonato entering his 3rd year. Gone is most of those stalwarts from the Mike Gambino era who had stayed over. You lose a lot of experience on the infield. Last year, they finished 28-29. They did make some noise in the ACC tournament, obviously. They ended the seasons of our 2 bubble teams, Virginia and Notre Dame. Guys, talk to me a little bit about Boston College and what you saw from them last season and what you're going to miss maybe from the guys that departed, Micah.
I mean, right, the scrappy group that was that BC team. I mean, they were definitely a heads or tails kind of team. You didn't know which one you were going to get. It was a very 50-50, good or bad, with that team last year. But I mean, I think, right, you're obviously going to miss Patrick Roche. I mean, that's a key departure, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Obviously Josiah Ragsdale coming on, the way he did, transferring over from, was it Holy Cross, right? I'm not tripping on that. So, that was obviously a nice addition. I'm sad to see Magpok headed out west to San Diego State, but I kind of get it. I know that's kind of more his speed anyways. So, but he'll be missed a lot. So, there is a lot obviously gone, but at the same time, I mean, it is kind of nice though, because they feel like they are returning a decent amount too. So I think there is a lot to be, excited about in 26 for Boston College.
Yeah, let me go ahead and bring up what we've got in terms of the departures and the newcomers here, as Nick can talk a little bit about who he's going to miss and what his great memories of Boston College was. I thought those ACC tournament games, although they were kind of detrimental to the conference as a whole, their run in the conference was pretty memorable, especially AJ Colarusso's 2 starts in like 4 days was unbelievable. I think he threw 181 pitches and I think in a 3 day, like in like 8 days or something like that. So absolutely phenomenal from him. But Nick, talk to me a little bit about BC and what you're going to miss from, Roche, Cimini, McNulty, Ragsdale, those 3 names in particular. 4 names, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what I missed about those guys was Micah brought it up. They were scrappy. I remember last year saying that going into last year that infield was going to be very, very good. Unfortunately, they did deal with a lot of injuries, but when they were healthy, when they got to the ACC tournament, I mean, that was my biggest overarching memory in terms of what it was like at the ACC championship or tournament. Was Boston College knocking off Notre Dame, knocking off Virginia. I mean, Monty, you and I stood up till 2:30 in the morning watching that game, thinking that, oh man, here we go again. BC both nights, yeah. They were going to have a little bit of magic and kind of make a run. Yeah, I mean, I think it was too little too late in terms of their magic. We kind of expected, or at least I did, expected a little bit more out of them in the middle of the season, kind of make some noise, get back in to the NCAA tournament. But with these newcomers coming in and, Todd having his own guys now, this is there are obviously Nick Wang returns, but having his own guys is going to be really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. They were scrappy last year. I think it was too little too late, but we'll see if they can be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point. Todd Internato's got a very specific identity, right? A very clear system. And yeah, scrappy's part of that, but there's also a lot of base running involved and a lot of putting pressure on the defense and getting on base. And while Vince Cimini and Sam McNulty are very good baseball players, I'm not so sure they necessarily fit the classic Todd Internato mold. So now you're seeing some of those guys that he's recruited and brought in. And but the good news is they bring back, you obviously see 4 pitching transfers on there, but they bring back a ton of pitching. And that's, I think, where we're going to start, where we talk about, some of the pitching here, as I've realized that the graphics I made, the slides don't work in the way I with the animations on StreamYard here. But there's a look at the potential pitching staff ahead of what I kind of projected there as the potential pitching staff. They bring back a bunch of sophomores, Gavin Soares, Cesar Gonzalez, Jacob Burnham, and Brady Miller. Those guys are critical, right? They bring back AJ Colarusso and Tyler Mudd. And then they get some reinforcements, some Sean Hard coming back from injury. He hasn't pitched in much in 2 years, and he was very effective on the tournament team several years ago. So, Micah, what do you think about this pitching staff? It's surprisingly deep.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, we know who they got, right? It's not, there's a lot of these teams we're going to get to throughout these previews and team takeovers that, the upside might be a little bit higher, but you're not entirely sure what you're going to get. We know AJ Colarusso is going to be a workhorse. We know that guy's going to throw till his arm falls off. And, he's going to have a couple rough outings, but he's also going to have some incredibly memorable ones too. Again, we've talked about it 1,000 times on previous shows and years past. I am a Kyle Kipp stan. I will defend that kid for the rest of his life. I think that kid is an absolute stud. And I think you have him as a midweek guy. I kind of see him potentially falling into that Sunday spot. But again, this is all projecting, right? There's a lot of changes that are going to happen throughout all of this, but that's the nice thing about Kyle Kipp. He can come out of the bullpen and kind of be a long reliever. He can be your midweek guy to eat up some innings. He can be your Sunday guy. So I'm really excited to see, obviously, the step forward he takes. And again, you've got some pretty nice, bullpen pieces too. That again, I think will do numbers for BC. And I think something that's always been from Todd Internato's days at Wofford, right? they scored a lot. Like they score a lot. Like his program is meant to win 9-6 ball games, not 2-1 ball games. Some of these arms you see are guys that can throw 100 pitches. They might give up 4 or 5 runs, but that's not an issue for Boston College. They don't expect their arms to go out and go 7 innings. Like this is not North Carolina or Florida State where, sometimes they have to win games 2-1. This is a much, or Stanford might be a really good example of that. Like, where some of their programs kind of been built on 3-2 ball games comparatively to 9-7, 10-8 kind of games. So I like what BC has coming out of both the bullpen and again, like you've got some starters. Like I think you got a top half Friday guy. Monty, would you say that AJ Colarusso is a top half of the conference Friday guy?
Yeah, whatever he figured out in the middle of last season, if he can continue that and get that start, because that's where he kind of struggled in the beginning. Remember, he lost his spot in the rotation and then came out of the bullpen against Virginia. But if he can figure it out from the get-go, he's definitely a top half starter, and he's somebody who can get you 7 innings on any given Friday night.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff.
Monty ends the statement and then expects us to respond. I love that. We are also preseason form here too. Like we got to work out our kinks.
We got to knock off.
I don't want to say Boston College is a midweek but all these first couple previews are kind of like midweeks for us too. We're figuring out what works. These are inter squad scrimmages for us.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts here on the pitching staff, Nick?
I mean, they kind of struggled last year, but what's I think going to be beneficial to BC is that, like I said earlier, Todd's getting his guys in. I think AJ is going to be huge. I'll answer Micah's question too. I think he is going to be a top half Friday starter in the ACC. I think that's going to be huge for Boston College if they're going to want to make noise and just kind of have a consistency. I feel like this is going to be a pitching staff where they're going to be in every game. And I don't really see, unless something, crazy happens, I think they're at least guaranteed a win in a weekend series with this rotation. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to see how this pitching staff comes together. Obviously, Brady Miller, all the experience he had last year, he was really good. I'm surprised neither he nor Gavin Soares made the all-freshman team with how they performed. They were both fantastic. Soares is another option for the rotation. I think Tyler Mudd will have a bounce-back year with not being moved back and forth between the rotation. And then you've got some really talented guys like, an Ethan Marzo who started a lot of games at the D3 level at Johns Hopkins. You brought in a couple transfers. I'm really excited to see how the pitching staff kind of comes together. But if this pitching staff is as good as it possibly could be, Boston College might be a tournament team.
Yeah.
Moving along now to the lineup, the position players. We've got a lot of turnover here, but 2 key guys coming back. Number 1, Gunnar Johnson coming back for a graduate year at catcher. Easton Massey, Cesar Gonzalez, Jace Rusin, who's not listed on the screen, he's also back. So you've got a lot of options in that catching room. From what I understand, they are very high on Easton Mass, if that's the correct way to pronounce his name. Again, we're in preseason form. And he could push for playing time. We know he likes that Todd likes to kind of mix and match some of his catchers, but it's an exciting group there. And, just for the sake of getting into the conversation about the infield, I'll put the rest of the infield out there. Kyle Wolf will probably DH. You've got Esteban Garcia, who can play second or first. I have him projected to play first base with Timon Alfie, the Dayton transfer, at second. Julio Soler and Sean Martinez battling it out at shortstop. And then Nick Wang is back. That's a huge boost. He was playing first base last year before he went down. He can play first, second, or third. And then sophomore Danny Sorowiak is the third baseman there. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Nick, we can start with you on some of these guys. Who's your guy to highlight here?
I mean, I think it's Nick Wang. He's a guy that's coming back after the wrist injury he had. I actually did get to meet him. He was in Winston-Salem last year. He was boys with Jack Winney, so I got to meet him. Really cool dude. But I think his defense, his power, The fact that he can play anywhere on the field, I think that's going to be huge for BC. And just kind of having that veteran presence. I know Kyle Wolf is also one of those guys too. But again, these are a bunch of new guys, a bunch of new freshmen and sophomores, a lot of transfers. I think when you have a couple of guys left over, and also some motivation for Nick. I mean, again, coming back off of injury, he's my guy to highlight in this infield.
Absolutely. Micah, who's your guy to highlight?
I'm so glad that Nick didn't say him. Monty, I have a hot take right off the bat here in team takeovers. Timon Offie is going to be an all-ACC guy. He is the definition of a Todd Interdonato player. Like if you told me to make a perfect player for Todd Interdonato, I think he might be it. So last year, his freshman year at Dayton, right? 14 stolen bases, hit 304. I mean, he is very sound defensively. I mean, he was a big part of what made Dayton so special. I think, Nick, you saw Dayton last year when they were at Wake. Like, this is one of the key guys you would have saw in that lineup for the Flyers. On top of it, do you guys know that he set his school's program record for stolen bases? And he's third all-time on the island in New York.
I was just saying, in high school.
Yes. I
was going to be surprised if Dayton's program record was 14 stolen bases.
No. In high school, he has the all-time stolen base record. He was third all-time in like the New York City area. I mean, he's from Staten Island. I mean, he's an absolute stud. His dad played collegiate baseball. I mean, he is Todd Internato's type of player if I've ever seen one. And he's going to be a threat on the base paths. He gets on base. He does a great job of working counts. Again, he's a lefty too, right? So he's going to be one of those quick out of the box guys. And again, sound defensively too. So, I mean, I am excited to see what he can do. And I mean, Dayton's no slack program, right? That is a very good A10 program. So it's not like he's coming, let's see how it translates to the ACC. This kid can play at the ACC level. So that was a huge pickup for Todd Interdonato and his staff. I can't wait to see what he does. I mean, obviously, the returners, Monty, I want to make sure you get to highlight some people too, but he's just someone that, when I was going through doing some deep dive stuff, I was like, man, this kid is he reminds me of what I used to see Wofford do against ETSU every year when I was working in the SoCon.
Yeah, no, I love that. I thought you were going to go Kyle Wolf. I'm glad you went Manolfi. You gave us some extra insight that I didn't have. I know the BC coaching staff is ecstatic about this kid. And you guys will notice a common theme in our takeovers this year will be A10 transfers. I think there's about a dozen A10 guys that have making their way into the ACC, and they have
Atlantic in their name. It only makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. They're very, very good. Obviously, Dayton's coach is at Duke now. And, so you had a large exodus of Dayton players coming to the ACC. Really excited to see what it's surprising how deep that offense is in the A10, considering they're a one bid league. They very, very good. If you guys remember, also one of the best players in college baseball last year, James Quinn's Irons, was in the A10 at George Mason. Michael DiMartini, who we will talk about when we talk about Duke. But yeah, A10 is going to get a lot of love from us in this in these previews. But I'm going to talk about Kyle Wolf, who had a kind of a down year last year and still had 14 extra base hits. He got hit 27 times, which was, I think, at the time Boston College season ended, he was the leader in the ACC. Ultimately, I think Don Listy ended up with a few more. I can't remember if it was him or Kane Kepley that ended up being the hit by pitch crown winner. But yeah, really excited about Kyle Wolf. And then Julio Soler offensively doesn't jump off the page. He was their top recruit last year, but we know that Todd Interdonato is willing to sacrifice a little bit of offense for good defense at shortstop. And then Sean Martinez apparently has been very good with his glove as well. He can play second, short, or third. Moving along to this outfield that I'm pretty excited about as well. They bring back Jack Toomey, they bring back Colin Larson, and they bring in a Xavier transfer, Carter Hendrickson, who is another stud on the base paths. Mike, I'm going to let you highlight first.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a big part of what I did, Monty, this entire deep dive stuff was last year I felt like I was underprepared with the transfer. So I probably spent way too much time digging into transfers. So just be prepared when I start stealing all these transfers from you. But Carter Hendrickson from Xavier, like you said, absolute stud. Last year played in 42 games. Or excuse me, that was 2024. 2025 had a much bigger year for them. But like he's been a key contributor at Xavier his entire time. Obviously, he's a graduate transfer. At least I'm assuming he is, considering this is his 5th year of college baseball. But, he's someone that I think is going to provide a lot of stability, especially considering, right, like he kind of in a way has to fill Josiah Ragsdale's spot. I mean, last year, they bring in Josiah Ragsdale. He ends up being one of the, if not maybe the best player in that lineup for BC. So obviously trying to replace that is going to be tough, but I'm excited to see how he fits into this lineup. Again, he proved himself. The Big East is a very good baseball league, right? We've talked about Xavier before on this show before. So I think it's going to be fun to kind of see how that translates, but I'm excited to see kind of what he's capable of doing, because in all reality, I mean, in the modern era of baseball, right, and college athletics as a whole, you have to be prepared, to look at transfers. And I think one of the more impressive things was, Monty, he walked 41 times last year. So he's a very patient hitter. So you're going to see a guy like Carter who's going to, again, work some of these guys. And like we talked about it, I said it before, BC is not going to try to win 1-0 games. So they're going to want to make team starters come out of the game early. And this is a guy that's going to help do that by working long at bats. And again, does a good job of putting the ball in play as well. It's not like he can't hit. I mean, he only hit 283 last year, but he's going to do a good job of working ABs, and he's sound defensively. So I'm excited to kind of see how he plugs into this BC outfield.
Yeah, you've nailed it with Manolfi and Hendrickson. They are the perfect $100 players. The thing that jumped off the page to me for both of those guys was the walk. They walk more than they strike out. It was 31-30 for Manolfi, 41-27. That's 14 more walks than strikeouts, which is very indicative at the college level of being an impact bat, especially when you're able to hit 20 extra base hits in addition to, that kind of plate approach. So again, it's getting on base and it's wreaking havoc on the base paths. Those guys combined for 34 stolen bases last year. Nick, who are you highlighting in the outfield?
I'm going to go with Colin Larson, younger guy, one of 2 sophomores in this lineup. Obviously, the other one being Ty Manolfi, who's a transfer. Not a whole lot under his belt last year. I mean, he only batted 228. He had only just under 60 batting at bats last year. So if he's going to fit into like this veteran, almost kind of lineup, it's going to be very interesting to see. The outfield, they have a lot of experience. They've played a lot of games. Colin, not as much as the rest of the outfielders, especially Carter Hendrickson. So how he grows, how he kind of like develops throughout the season, and being the center fielder, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how he kind of just develops throughout the year. If he could be a key part in the lineup, in that bottom half of the lineup.
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned Colin Larson. He had some really bright spots last year, and then in the Appy League over the summer absolutely went off. He, again, another one of those guys that walked significantly more than he struck out, stole a ton of bases. I can't remember if he was Appy League Player of the Year, but he was close. He was in that conversation. He was definitely an Appy League All-Star, absolute stud. And then obviously Jack Toomey, who I have listed on this as a junior, he is a senior. I told you earlier that Josiah Ragsdale was the transfer from Holy Cross. Jack Toomey was the transfer from Holy Cross. Josiah Ragsdale was from Iona. So I was wrong and I led you astray, and I apologize.
Yeah, you're right. Now, you're as soon as I said it, I was like, I think I'm wrong on that too. But
well, I was right because I was like, an outfielder transferred from Holy Cross. It's Toomey as I'm saying it. So here's a potential look at the lineup. This one is a little bit tough to say. It depends on whether you want Nick Wang playing third base or first base. Obviously, Esteban Garcia is in the lineup at first base in this scenario. He played a lot there last year when Wang went down. And then here's a potential look at the batting order. But if you go with Sean Martinez at third, Nick Wang at first, you're not losing a lot there either. But what do you guys think of this potential batting order? Now, keep in mind that batting order is pure speculation, pure guesswork. I have no idea what they're thinking in the lineup. This is just kind of a fun conversation to see what the potential could be.
Here's my first takeaway. If you're in an opposing team, do not let the first couple guys get on. Holy cow, the amount of speed that is in that lineup. I mean, you're telling me the 3-hole is a guy with 14 stolen bases last year at the Division I level. I mean, this is a lineup that can, like, if Colin Larson gets on base, he's going to second base. And you're telling me that you don't believe in Carter Hendrickson to potentially drive him in with an extra base hit, or at least work a long AB where a potential wild pitch, ball in the dirt, runner advances to third, now it's a sac fly situation. Like, I will not be surprised if we have multiple times where I'm just tuning into the BC game. They're the visiting team, and it's already 1-0 with one out because we had a leadoff single, advance on a stolen base, wild pitch, advance to third, sac fly. Like this, there's so much speed on this base path now. Like this is Todd Indernato's year one, in my opinion. Like this is actually the Todd Indernato blueprint team. This is the first time we're truly seeing what he wants this program to be. And I think, again, is it a perfect lineup? No. Is it full of a bunch of dudes like some of these other teams in our conference, like a Clemson, a Florida State? Probably not. But it's going to be a different style of team than you're going to see pretty much across the rest of the league, which we all know, right? Like everyone talks about it in football. Like when you have to play Army and Navy, they're never an easy out just because you're facing something different. That's what you're getting with Boston College. So I'm really excited to see how this lineup's put together. And obviously, right, this is not guaranteed. But Monty, I'll tell you this, if this is the lineup, it's a pretty damn good lineup.
Yeah, and like I said, you've got some options. Like I said, you could go a different direction and have Wang play first, Sean Martinez sliding at third. Obviously, you've got some guys on the bench there. I've got Julio Soler listed twice on the batting order for some reason. He's both on the bench and at shortstop. But, you've got Owen DeShaza, who's got some power. You've got Easton Massey, who's pushing for playing time. And then Cesar Gonzalez is a really good catcher. I think he's supposed to be that fourth guy listed on the bench. But Boston College, if things go right, they've got the staff and the lineup to make a run at a tournament berth. It's just got to go their way. They've got to be able to, put together wins and stay afloat. But it's not out of the realm of possibility they could make a run at an NCAA tournament berth. Nick, what are your thoughts here on this lineup before we move on to talking about their schedule?
Yeah, I guess I'll just emphasize, like, because I talked about Colin Larson. If he's going to be the leadoff guy, again, eyes are going to be on him to get on base because the batting average was not super great last year. The blueprint, like Micah said, is there. Like everything is there for you. And it all starts with Colin. So if he is going to be your leadoff, you kind of want that average to be, touching 300, close to it. But if he does, 1 through 5, it's going to be a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. You get guys on the base paths, and then you get Nick Wang and Kyle Wolf coming up next. Yeah, this is going to be a very, very fun BC team. It really is going to be like last year's team, but just kind of more on steroids in terms of what Todd Indernato wants, the scrappiness, the, bringing in a little bit more power. I really like this lineup. It excites me a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. Mainolfi could very well end up leading off. I thought Larson might get a shot there to start. Mainolfi's such a good hitter. You might want to have him a little bit lower in the order, but it's going to be a lot more fun to watch this BC team. They're not necessarily going to play pretty baseball. They're going to win ugly. That's kind of what they're trying to do, but it's going to be some exciting stuff there. Moving along to the schedule. It's not as hard a schedule, I feel like, as last year. They open up in a tournament or showcase, I'm assuming probably in Florida, I would imagine, against Seton Hall, Houston, and Washington.
No, that's the Puerto Rico thing, Monty.
Yeah, that is the Puerto Rico thing. They open up in Puerto Rico. Thank you. That's basically Florida.
A little bit more expensive to get to, but yes. Yeah, weather-wise, yes.
Yeah. And then they have Florida Gulf Coast second weekend. Non-conference, they play UConn twice, home and away. They only play Northeastern once as of now, but we both know they're going to play in the Bean Pot likely. But that's pretty much their entire non-conference schedule in terms of really big games. And then on the ACC side, their slate is pretty interesting. They're going to end the season at Clemson and hosting Georgia Tech, which is brutal. You want to circle that at Notre Dame one there, as well as the last 3 weekends of the year. What series jumps out to you, Nick?
That UNC one. Remember 2 years ago they went down to Chapel Hill and swept them, and that was kind of like a big turning point in their season. I think midway through the season, you're playing a little bit warmer weather. If this team can get going, that UNC series is going to be huge for them.
Absolutely. Micah, which one are you highlighting?
I'm cheating, Monty. I'm not highlighting a series. My key for Boston College to make the NCAA tournament has nothing to do with the ACC this year, because I think Boston College is going to be floating around that 500 level of the ACC, right? They're going to take 2 or 3. I'll just say probably 2 or 3 against Virginia, and then 1 or 3 in Chapel Hill, and then you'll kind of go back and forth, teetering between. It's that stretch, Monty, to open the year, right? Obviously, they have their Puerto Rico thing, but like when they play the weekend after, they're in Spartanburg, South Carolina, playing in that minor league park with LaSalle, Northwestern, and Cornell. And then obviously they come back home for 1 game against Merrimack. Then they head down. This is where it gets crazy. This is the key part of their schedule for me. You're at FGCU for 3 days. Then you've got midweeks at FIU and back-to-back nights. Then obviously you are playing a win-away team from Omaha, and a team we're very high on, at least I'm very high on, in 2026 with Miami to open ACC play. And then you're flying up to Storrs, Connecticut for a midweek, and then flying down to Raleigh for another weekend. I mean, that is actually insane. That is a ton of miles. That is a ton of, like, UConn, NC State, Miami, FIU, FGCU are all capable NCAA tournament teams, top 150 RPI programs. And let's just be very frank. Last year, Boston College missed the tournament, not because of how they did in the ACC, but because they opened the season losing 2 of 3 at New Orleans. They lost, they lost a game against Richmond up there, obviously, in that tournament that you were at, Monty. They lost a midweek at Longwood. They lost, a midweek to, I think it was like Rhode Island. Yeah, they lost a midweek to Rhode Island. So they can't afford that, unfortunately, for them, because they're going to have an high RPI because they're playing neutral and road games, so they're going to get benefits from that. And again, I think they're going to be fine in the ACC. I don't think this is the worst team in the ACC. So obviously they're going to have to do their part in conference play, but they have to have a winning record in that stretch. And that is not easy when you're talking about NC State. We're talking about Miami. Again, FIU is a team that's taking a major step forward this year. I think they're going to be very dangerous in the Conference USA. So again, just something to kind of keep an eye on. So I think that little stretch, it's not a series. I know it's cheating a little bit, but I think that's what's going to determine whether Boston College can make the tournament or not, is having a successful, 3-week, 4-week stretch there where you're going north-south.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say real quick, I think their road ACC series are going to be really tough this year too. State, Carolina, Clemson, even Notre Dame, which the three of us know how hot Notre Dame can get towards the end of the year. That's end of April. So that road ACC schedule is going to be tough for them as well.
Notre Dame's an NCAA tournament team in my eyes too. So, but yeah, let's wrap this up. Boston College. Let's talk a little bit about your predictions for the season. Nick, what do you think Boston College is going to do? They're going to make the NCAA tournament?
I think right now, I'll say yes. I think they're super scrappy. I think, again, like I said a few minutes ago, they're last year's team, but on steroids because Internato has his guys. I think the pitching staff is much better. I think they have a top Friday guy in the ACC. The veteran presence with Nick Wang and Kyle Wolf coming back, leading these guys, is going to be huge. The top half of that lineup is going to be very, very fun to watch. Teams are going to struggle with these guys. I mean, you might be a top ACC team. Do not take BC lightly. I think they find a way to get an at-large bid and kind of sneak into that 3 seed in some regional.
Love that. Love that. I mean, I can definitely see that with the way their team is, and if everything goes right. Micah, what about you? It's tough because
how many bids do you think the ACC gets this year, Monty? If
16.
you had to guess.
I'm hoping for 11.
Realistically,
I'm
what do we
hoping for
think?
11, but it's probably closer to 10.
That's the thing. I think BC is my team 11. And so it just really depends on whether or not how the things fall.
Like, will it depend?
I'm going to say yes.
It will depend on the ACC tournament. Like it almost did last year. Like, are we going to be heading?
Again, I am determined that we will know if Boston College is in. I'm determined if Boston. I will know by the second weekend of the ACC whether BC is a tournament team or not. I firmly believe that FGCU Miami, like the Florida road trip with UConn sandwiched between that, and then going to NC State, like if they can have a winning record in that is an NCAA tournament quality team. And I would want to assume if they're winning 50% of those games, they're going to win a series against Virginia. They're not going to get swept in South Bend. They're going to, probably go 2-3 in Puerto Rico and get a nice win either against a Washington or a Houston, in that situation, or both, and maybe lose to Seton Hall and kind of cancel out the whole thing. Like, this is a schedule that's formidable enough to where they're going, again, like going to FIU and FGCU is great for RPI. That is a genius move. It's what they did last year by going to Spartanburg to open it up with Upstate to start the year. That's a great RPI move right off the bat. So I'm going to say yes, assuming the conference gets 11, but if again, the bubble is shrunk because we've got some random things going on in the SoCon or the Southland or something like that, this is where it could get interesting. But I will say that this team is, at the bare minimum, drastically better than last year, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great way to wrap this episode up. Fantastic. You guys are great. We'll be back tomorrow night with the California Golden Bears. But until then, it just means less.